Hi everybody, welcome to January's design class. Happy 2022. First of all, thank you all. I know you planned on being with us in person, and unfortunately we were unable to get everyone together this month. So thank you for your flexibility. We hope you do enjoy this virtual experience. I promise to make it just as fun and interactive as being here in person. This month we are going to be designing with whites and golds. That is a traditional kind of New Year's color scheme. So we're kind of picking up where the Christmas season left off and keeping it with that fun winter feel. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the products we're going to be using, which are laid out in front of me. You will have had all of these delivered to your home by now, so hopefully you're spreading them out and have your own little workstation in front of you. So you're gonna see your container here, which is actually a really fun keepsake container. You can use it to put a plant in afterwards, to hold pens, to kind of whatever you wanna do to dress up your house a little bit. And then you will have received a dry block of foam. So this foam, you've taken our design classes before where usually we have the foaming done for you, but you are going to have to take care of the soaking process. So essentially all you want to do is either fill your sink or fill a bowl that's larger than your block of foam, and you're going to want to fill it with water. We are going to supply a packet of flower food for you too. So actually if you want to fill it with water and then add that packet of flower food, that's exactly what we do with our foam. When we soak it, it is already pre-soaked with the floral solution. So that'll go in there. You'll never have to worry about adding more of the powder. That it's kind of tricky when you have these foam designs. You'll just have to worry about adding more water as the days go on. So once you get that done, then we can continue on to the actual design process. So I'm gonna move this little mock foam out of the way here. And again, you'll have the right size. It'll be cut similar to this. And then what we recommend before you start is having your vase, since you're already gonna have it at home, what I would recommend is filling it probably just about 1/2 inch from the top or so. That's gonna give you plenty of water for the next 3-4 days to be able to enjoy your arrangement without worrying about it drying out. So you're gonna see here, I'm gonna kind of go over again the products we're gonna be using. These are gonna be our different greens. This is a, we call it pit, but pittosporum is actually the full name of it. So this is gonna be kind of your base green. This is a green that we use in pretty much all of our low and compact designs. It's a great filler, creates a great base for your floral. And then this guy here is a podocarpus. So this is called Nagi. So this again is gonna give you that quite a bit different like shape and texture, which will look nice in the end. We're gonna start at the beginning with our base of pit, and then we'll show you later on how to use the Nagi to kind of fill in and create a little bit more kind of depth to your arrangement. Then we're gonna have our Gerber Daisies. Everyone loves these. I'm gonna show you a little bit about how to wire these for those of you that have not done that before in one of our classes. And then we have our white status. So again, this is probably the longest lasting flower in all of the floral kingdom. This will last you because it almost dries out as you go along. So this essentially will look the same now as it will in 6 months. So you can kind of keep that in mind as we go along. These guys here are actually a dried lotus pod that we've sprayed gold. So they give a really nice kind of tie into our gold container, which will be really fun once we get going. Okay, so you're gonna wanna make sure you have your set of clippers or pruning tools, or if you're a knife person that you have that, and then we can get started. So with our foam, what we are gonna do first is create a base of greenery, which we typically always do. We're gonna do that with arrangements that are in glass vases or ones that are in foam as well. This will help us just to create a good base. That is one of the differences between professional floral design and maybe something that's done a little bit more like at home, or even the grocery store bouquets that you'll get. So let's take your stem, and they're all gonna look a little bit different. They look like this, or they can be long, but I'm gonna teach you how to cut them so that we can maximize the different breaks. With the pit, it's really very clear kind of where you need to make your cuts. So it kind of breaks itself off really nice. So what I typically do is I take and I cut to the next level of greenery. So I can do that on this about 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then that will give me 4 really nice pieces. So again, your stems are all gonna look a little bit different, but I think there's enough of a break in each stem that you should be able to see where to cut. So this is gonna give me about 6 pieces, a little more or a little less is fine, but this will be a start to our base. So what you're gonna wanna do is typically when you're designing in foam, before you cut, you wanna make sure that there is no greenery that's gonna be inserted into the actual foam or into a glass vase. That promotes mildew and mold, and so that's what makes your arrangements not last as long. Is anytime that greenery gets into the water or into the foam, it does start to kind of rot faster. So what I'm gonna do is give it just a little bit of cut. Traditionally, you wanna have the flowers go, I would say, at least an inch. We do more like 2 inches or even a little bit more. The idea is for the greenery to fall kind of somewhere in the middle of the foam, if you're able to do that. A little bit less is fine, but we just don't want to have a tip that's so small that it's not going to absorb water once the foam starts to dry out. So I create almost like a nest around the vase. So what I'll do is I'll take those cuts and I will kind of insert and then I'll turn as I go along. It's okay to have little spaces because we're going to come fill back in. And so again, inserting and turning. We don't have to have everything packed in incredibly tight because we're gonna be adding floral and we're gonna be adding our alternate greenery too. So you can see here the little spaces are fine. And some stems are small, so we just wanna use those to fill in where we can. All right, and then I have a couple more from this stem that I'm gonna use. So you can see here, pretty much completely filled in around the base of the container. And I'm gonna save a little bit so as we go along, we can kind of add to the middle where we see open spaces. So next, with any design, you wanna add your focal flower. So for us, that's gonna be our Gerber Daisies. They're our largest flowers, so it makes sense to add them next. So if you've taken one of our classes, you know that Gerber Daisies have a really heavy head. So we use floral wire, which you'll have received with you, and we're gonna want you to cut approximately this long. A little bit longer is fine, but the idea is to help get some support to these heavy heads so that they're not drooping by the first couple of days. So what you wanna do is take your wire and you want to insert it up into the middle of the head. So you don't necessarily have to have it poking through. This is coming through a little bit, and I'll just pull it back just so it's kind of flush and you can tell that it's gone through the center of the head of the Gerber Daisy. So once that's there, you wanna hold the Gerber Daisy and twist the wire and the gerb down until you get to the base. And then once you're at the bottom, you just give it a little bit of a fold up so that it won't get caught in the foam as it goes in. It'll be going the same direction as the foam. Okay, so we'll do this to all 4 of your Gerber Daisies. So again, up to the middle, and then a twist of the wire and a twist of the stem, and then we fold it up a little bit. So this, along with the flower food, really helps the Gerber Daisies to enhance their longevity. All right, so there's our 3rd one, and then one more. So we typically go with the principle of odd numbers. However, there really is something to be said about using 4s when it comes to a shorter container, because we can kind of use our directional. So we'll have our north, south, east, west. It almost gives you your exact placement of the flowers, which I like, especially if you're kind of just starting out. So what we're gonna do is this is gonna be kind of a lush and mounded design. So I'm gonna try to keep the Gerber Daisies so that they're almost resting on top of the greenery. So we'll give it a little cut right about to here. Then we're gonna wanna insert it, again, a good couple inches. And then it's gonna kind of set on the greenery that we've used. So it helps it to, again, remain focal, but still have a balance of where it makes sense to where we're placing it. So there's one. I'm gonna spin it, and then I'm gonna add another one. And that will be, again, same level, just a little bit of a different direction. And then we rotate it and do the same thing 2 more times. All right. So again, if you've taken our classes before, we've mentioned that when you're inserting flowers or greeneries into the foam, The idea is to try to get your placement right on the first time to avoid pulling out the flowers and putting them back in. What that does is it creates space and it creates air bubbles. So I'm not saying that it can't happen, you can't do it, but if you are going to pull it out because you're not happy with the direction or it just doesn't look right, you can take it out, but create a completely new hole where you place the flower instead of trying to insert it back into the same spot. All right, so we have all 4 of the gerbs placed, and you can see that they're again in those good even directionals and separated. I do have a big gap in the middle. I'm sure you can see that there's room for more things in there. So what we're gonna do next is typically I go the route of the next largest, I would say focal flower, but this is more of an accent. So we're gonna get these lotus pods in here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and cut. These are obviously artificial, so you don't have to worry about how far they go in or if they're touching a water source. But again, these are kind of gonna go a little bit lower, and they're gonna be placed in between the Gerber daisies. Okay, so we'll give a good kind of shape. All right, and we'll have one more. And again, we want them so that they're kind of into the greenery, but not drowned out by the greenery or sitting too far on top of it. So it's kind of starting to get that good rounded shape that you see. All right, so what we do next is kind of a combination of filling in with our status flower, which is an accent, and then we're gonna fill in with the greenery as well. I kind of do a little bit of it at the same time. So what I'll do, because I do have a pretty large gap of foam and nothing in the middle, I'm gonna use a little bit of our nagi that we talked about. And again, with any greens, you kind of wanna find a good break, and then you wanna make sure that you get rid of anything that's gonna go in the foam. So these have a really nice shape to them where they kind of go in the direction of where you want them to, depending if you face them up or down, which is what I really like about this greenery. Okay, so just a couple pieces there so I can kind of keep that rounded shape and know where I'm gonna head with my status. Okay, we'll get a piece of status going here. And again, as far as flowers go, these are all awesome because they have such a nice break to them. So I'll get the pieces separated, and then we can take them all individually and start to fill in our gaps. So this is where you kind of look around and we start to fill in all of the spots where we're missing either greenery or flowers. What I would caution is to still try to give them some separation so that you still have a good shape to your arrangement. Sometimes with accent, we call these accent flowers like these and baby's breath, it's easy to stuff your arrangement really full. But when that happens, you kind of do lose your shape. So I would say we want a good amount of this, but nothing that's gonna overpower those focal flowers. So I typically have the method of kind of twisting and turning as I go along. You can insert some of them lower too, so that they come out on the sides if you like that look. And then maybe a little bit more right here. Okay. All right. And then I would say probably about 2 pieces of this is going to be plenty, because again, we want to have our greenery visible and we want to have the rest of the product that you're using in there visible as well. Okay. So I'm going to add, and then just kind of turn it. And if there's spaces where you feel like you could use a little something, that's where we're going to want you to add this in. Okay, let's do one more little piece and then I'll flip it around so you can kind of take a look at how I placed it. All right. Okay, so this to me looks pretty good as far as spacing goes. So I would say it's very full, and what we like to do as designers in the end is take any sort of greenery and fill in your spaces. So for me, I like when arrangements kind of drape over a little bit. If you like that same look, then go ahead and add some to the sides. If you prefer a more compact look, then I would say this pit is gonna get you exactly where you wanna be. So with this nagi, it's nice because you can have it face up or face down, which gives it that draping effect. So for me, my base is usually always face down. And again, removing any of the stems that would go in the water. So the idea is to cover up any of the foam while you go along, because it's very easy to have little pieces of foam that kind of leave your design looking unfinished, sticking out. So that's one thing, that's typically the last thing that we do when we're designing, is we take a look from all angles and make sure we don't have any of that floral oasis sticking out, so that we do have a nice finished product. Okay. Give it one spin, and I see one more spot here where I could use a little something. All right, so now I'm gonna give it a spin and have you guys see that everything looks pretty well proportioned and positioned, and then we'll flip it forward so you can see that all the middle pieces are filled in and you don't have any big holes, and it just has a really nice rounded look. So the Gerber Daisies pair really well, and the Lotus Pods with kind of the gold circles here. I think this is a really fun kind of playful design for the new year. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed it and that you really had a good take-home experience. We hope to see you back in person soon, and definitely encourage at any time if you want to participate in the take-home boxes. We'd love to see you again next month. Thank you, everyone.